The doctors were running, nurses shouting numbers, and Joe Biden could feel his body slipping away. He tried to speak, but his mouth wouldn't move. His head felt like it was about to explode. In that moment, one terrifying thought took over his mind: what if I never walk again? What if I never speak again? It was 1988, and Joe Biden was at the peak of his political career. A young U.S. senator. A rising star. A man many believed would one day become president. Then, without warning, his body betrayed him. What no one knew yet was that Biden had suffered a massive brain aneurysm, a silent killer that strikes without mercy. Doctors told him the truth without soft words. The aneurysm could rupture at any moment. If it did, he could be left paralyzed, unable to speak, or dead. Surgery was the only option, but survival itself was not guaranteed. Joe Biden signed papers preparing for the worst, fully aware that he might never wake up the same man or at all. The operation lasted for hours. His skull was opened. His brain was exposed. When he finally woke up, Biden couldn't move properly. His speech was slow and broken. Every simple action felt like climbing a mountain. For a man whose power came from words, the fear of permanent silence was unbearable. Just months later, disaster struck again. A second aneurysm was discovered, this time on the other side of his brain. The odds of surviving two such surgeries were frighteningly low. Doctors warned him clearly: even if he lived, paralysis was a real possibility. Many believed his political life was finished. America moved on. Headlines faded. Biden disappeared from public view. But behind closed doors, he was fighting the hardest battle of his life. Learning to trust his body again. Learning to speak without fear. Learning to stand without falling. Pain followed him every day, but quitting was never an option. There were moments when Biden questioned everything. Why him? Why again? But pain had already taught him something powerful: life doesn't ask for permission before it breaks you. It only waits to see whether you stay down. Slowly, painfully, Joe Biden recovered. He returned to the Senate, not as the same man, but as a stronger one. The experience humbled him, stripped away ego, and replaced it with empathy. He understood suffering in a way few politicians ever would. Years later, when Joe Biden stood on the steps of the Capitol as President of the United States, few remembered the man who once lay on a hospital bed, unsure if he would ever walk or speak again. But that moment defined him more than any victory speech. He wasn't supposed to survive. He wasn't supposed to return. And he was never supposed to lead a nation. But he did, because some people aren't defined by how hard they fall, but by how fiercely they refuse to stay down.
Whose inspiring story of politician would you like to hear next? Tell us in the comments below.